there was something at Siemens in Germany that very few people at Westinghouse in the United States knew anything about. But over time, folks, we developed markets for technology. We can license in and license out, and technology became necessary but no longer sufficient for the creation of a sustainable competitive advantage. It became like the air that we breathe and the water that we drink, available to all. Of course, there are exceptions, extreme high-tech pharmaceuticals, but in general today, technology is necessary but not sufficient. Instead, we started competing with organizational and managerial innovations. Just in time, TQMBPR. Management by wandering around, management by objective, Six Sigma, ISO 9000, ISO 9001, ISO 9003, ISO 9004, ISO 9000 whatsoever. For a short moment in time or space, these innovations enabled a number of companies to glitter and glow. Toyota of Japan, General Electric of the United States. In fact, many of you work for companies that are truly great at playing this managerial and organizational game. That's the good news. That's the good news. Here comes the bad. Today, McKinsey & Company exists, Accenture exists, Boston Consulting Group exists, Roland Berger Consulting exists, aided by this cadre of global consultants. I promise you that all your competitors, even those in Tibet, are right now re-engineering, revamping, reorganizing, restructuring, managed by the same cadre of globally standardized MBAs, mediocre but arrogant people. They're all doing it. I promise you, I should know. I have an MBA. I work at a business school. And let me tell you, most business schools throughout the world share a dirty little secret. Well, let me tell you that secret. We all use the same darn books. It's Michael Porter's Competitive Strategy, the Free Press, 1980. It's Philip Kotler's Marketing Management, 11th edition by now. The guy is 82 years old. It's Brealey and Myers in finance. It doesn't matter if you get your MBA in Boston, Birmingham, or Bombay. Same darn books. And then you're supposed to make a difference. Yeah, good luck. So then what do we do? If technology spreads like a forest fire, if organizational and managerial innovations diffuse internationally and instantly, what is the fabric of temporary monopolies? What is the deal with a company such as Walmart, the American mega retailer, a company that today accounts for 10% of US productivity growth? What's the deal with Walmart? BMW of Germany, Apple Computers, Dell Computers, Nokia of Finland. I mean, when I grew up, Nokia of Finland was a fairly well-recognized manufacturer of rubber boots and toilet paper. I tried both when I was young. Today it has a 38% global market share in the cellular phone industry. What does Nokia base its temporary monopoly on? Do you think it's technology? Some fantastic little piece of technology that a weird guy in the deep forests of Finland, Pekka, invented back in 1995, and that Nokia subsequently has been able to put into our mobile phones in such a way that it's more or less impossible for Ericsson, Motorola, Siemens, or any of the other companies to figure out what Nokia is up to. No. It could be the book. Have you heard about the book? That amazing little book on branding, marketing, and design, which is yet only available in Finnish. Could be. No, this is it. Finland is located closer to the future. I mean, there's a 1-hour time difference between Finland and much of the rest of Europe. Let's try this. Jorma Ollila, the top guy at Nokia, I guess maybe a few years ago, he gave a speech, a fantastic speech, which explains the monopoly of Nokia. I mean, I don't know, but maybe the speech sounded something like the following. Dear fellow Nokians, I'm extremely proud to see you all here to celebrate yet another successful year in the history of the Nokia Group. During the last year, we in the executive committee have spent a lot of time and effort trying to figure out the future competitive advantages of Nokia. I'm sad to say that no longer can we base our competitiveness on technology, because it turns out that Ericsson, Motorola, Siemens, they can also hire engineers. I'm also sad to conclude that no longer can we base our competitive edge on organization and management. Because you see, I was recently told that also Kurt Hellström of Ericsson has the phone number to McKinsey. So instead we've decided to base our competitiveness on I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course you need the best technology in the world. You need to be a pioneer experimenting with new organizational and managerial solutions. The problem is that all your competitors also know that. So then what do we do? How do we create sustainable competitive advantages in a world where markets are saturated? How do we create competitiveness in a world of man and markets? How do we create competitiveness in a world where we've given up on the principle of nurture and where we're now applying the laws of nature in business? Well, perhaps we need to go back to nature. You see, in 1859, a book that you're all familiar with was published. It was published by a guy called Charles Darwin. The name of the book was On the Origin of Species. In this book, he put forth a theory that you're all familiar with. It was called survival of the fittest. Survival in nature, claimed Charles Darwin, boiled down to adaptation. When the environment changed, you too needed to change in order to thrive and survive. I mean, the scientific community was fuming. The church was outraged. Man and monkeys? What nonsense. But you see, there were a couple of other problems that Mr. Darwin had to face. The number one problem for Mr. Charles Darwin was actually this: the male peacock's tail. Not even to Mr. Darwin did it seem very fit. I mean, it's huge. Imagine being hunted by a fox or a wolf, having to carry around this big bunch of feathers sticking out of your butt. It's extremely colorful. Try to hide with that sticking out of your ass. Why did the male peacock end up with its tail? Do you think female peacocks are stupid? Well, that's a really unfit guy. I want him. Of course not. It turns out that female peacocks, at least on the level of the population, and over time, use logical reasoning. This is what happens when the female peacock catches sight of the male peacock. A, it's a guy. B, he doesn't look very fit. C, he's carrying around this huge bunch of feathers sticking out of his ass. D, he's alive, he isn't very fit, carrying around a bunch of feathers sticking out of his butt. G, great feathered father in the sky, he must have super duper great genes. If you can survive with that thing, you must have genes that are out of this world. It took Charles Darwin 12 years to write the sequel to On the Origin of Species. The new book was called The Descent of Man. In this new book, he claimed that fitness didn't explain it all. Fertility also came into play. Survival is only part of the story. There also needs to be courtship. In addition to survival of the fittest, it is a question of survival of the sexiest. Now, what does this have to do with corporate strategy, from Darwin to Walmart and Apple? Well, consider some of the successful companies around us right now. Consider IKEA, H&M, eBay, EasyJet, Walmart. Would you call those companies fit or sexy? Sexy. We have at least one pervert in the room. EasyJet compared to Singapore Airlines. Dell compared to Apple Computers. H&M compared to Gucci. You see, there are two distinct ways in which you can create sustainable competitiveness right now. Either you are extremely fit, you exploit market imperfections. You exploit the fact that the market is now dominant, that the environment has changed. Or you're sexy. You exploit the imperfections of man. The fact that we've moved from a world of collectivism into a world of individualism. Now, in business, we don't talk about fitness and being sexy. We call this competition on models, business models, or competition on moods, emotional business. Now let's take a look at the business model of the past, because that particular model we're all familiar with. The vertically integrated company that dominated for some 100 years. And this, I promise you, was a great business model in an information desert. When information was a scarce resource, this made sense. But today, we're facing a totally different ballgame. All the pieces, all the activities that once were kept internally can now be bought on global and highly efficient markets. And in such a world, we have to start thinking about strategy from scratch. We have to focus on a limited number of things where we happen to be world class. I mean, it's a very simple principle. It can even be applied to all aspects of life. I am, for instance, I'm a terrible chef, so I quite often go to restaurants. I'm a lousy window cleaner, so we have a company come to our house and take care of that stuff. And I'm not the best lover in the world. No, so me and my wife, we've decided that once a week, occasionally twice, there's this really good-looking guy, Italian, who comes to our house, follows her up to the bedroom, and fine. Come on, I'm only kidding. He's Spanish.